What do you imagine would happen if you stopped worrying about money, even for an hour? Would everything fall apart? Would the bills pile up? Would the universe just forget about you? Or would something else happen? For years, I genuinely believed that worrying was responsible, that if I didn't stay on top of every detail, if I stopped trying to solve it, I was being careless or reckless or stupid. And it went deeper than that. I believed that my thinking, my brain, was the only tool I had, that if there was a solution to my money woes, I had to figure it out. That was the mistake, because once I saw what worry really is and what happens when it stops, everything changed and money started flowing to me easily and effortlessly, and it still does to this day. I'm going to explain how you can bring about a change just like that in the next few minutes, so keep watching. I used to worry constantly about money, about what might happen next. Even when I knew the worry wasn't helping, I still did it. It's a bit like superstition. I knew a guy once who'd touch his shirt collar every time he saw a single magpie. You know the rhyme, one for sorrow. He knew it was daft, but he still did it, just in case. And that's what worry can feel like. We know it doesn't actually change anything, but we do it anyway, just in case not worrying makes things worse. That's the trap. Worry gives us the illusion of control, but in reality, it's just looping thoughts. And the longer we loop, the harder it is to see any way out. That was my life for years. If that already sounds familiar, I go deeper into this in my free 10-minute masterclass, Effortless Money Manifesting. I'll tell you more about it later, but if you're already nodding along, the link's in the description. Now, I want to share something that happened to me, a moment that genuinely shifted my understanding of how money can show up and why letting go is the key. It was a Thursday and it was hot. I remember the heat, that thick summer kind of heat that clings to everything. It was also my last day in a job I'd been in for 10 years, so emotions were already running high, saying goodbye to people I'd worked with for a decade. I wanted to leave well, do something meaningful. I'd planned to pop out during my lunch break to buy them a farewell gift, a framed picture or something nice for the wall, something they'd remember me by. So I got into my car and drove into town, parked in a multi-storey car park where you pay on exit. Back then, the minimum fee was 50p. Because of the heat, I'd taken off my jacket and thrown it on the passenger seat. When I parked, I reached into the inside pocket for my wallet, and it wasn't there. I checked the footwell, under the seat, every pocket, twice. Nothing. All I had was some loose change in my trousers, enough to pay for the car park, but nowhere near enough to buy a gift. And here's where the panic set in. Not only did I have no money, I had no ID, no bank card. And this was 1993. There were no mobile phones, no contactless payments, no way to prove who I was or call for help. I thought, that's it. I'll have to go home, try again tomorrow. But by then, I'd have already left the job. The moment would be gone. It wouldn't be the same. So I started to unlock the car, disappointed, stuck, and already telling myself I'd messed it all up. And then I heard it. A voice. I don't know where it came from. It wasn't in my head, and it wasn't mine. It came from outside me. Clear, calm, neutral. I can't tell you if it was male or female. It said, "Just trust, there'll be a way." I looked around. No one there. I shook it off. Thought, that's weird. Reached for the car door again. Same voice, same words. "Just trust, there'll be a way." And I can't explain this part, even now, over 30 years later. But I didn't ignore it. Even though it felt strange, even foolish, I locked the car again, turned around and walked towards the shopping mall. I still had no idea how anything could possibly work out. As I walked, my logical brain was still trying to figure it out. Maybe I'll find a kind shopkeeper who'll let me take something and pay tomorrow. Maybe someone at work could vouch for me if I could get to a phone. That walk across the car park was maybe 30 seconds long, but notice my brain had already switched into worrying mode, trying to solve a problem to which there was no obvious solution. The only thought that kept me putting one foot in front of another was, let's see, I don't believe there's a way, but I have nothing to lose. So I suppose you could say that I was willing to trust that maybe there'd be a way. Reluctant, but for the sake of less than a minute's walk, willing. And there, standing outside the very first shop I passed, was my lodger, Fran. She wasn't just there. She was standing with a handful of cash, several £10 notes, folded in her hand. We were both surprised to see each other. She thought I was at work. I asked what she was doing, and she said she was waiting for a friend who was running late. I said, "Why do you have all that money?" She said, "Just took it out of the ATM. Why?" So I explained. I'd forgotten my wallet, had no money, couldn't buy the gift. Could she possibly lend me a tenner? She said, "No, I owe you the rent anyway. Just take all of it. I'll go and get more." And she handed me £40, just like that. More than enough. And I just stood there thinking, what just happened? I hadn't tried to manifest anything. I hadn't done a technique. I hadn't visualized or affirmed or scripted. I'd literally given up. But I'd also allowed something to happen. I'd taken a step, even though I couldn't explain it. And that's what made the difference. That's why I call it effortless. I actually walk through how that kind of shift happens in the masterclass. And if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but money still isn't showing up, I think you'll find it really helpful. The link is in the description. Letting go isn't doing nothing. It's being willing to take the next step, even if you can't see where it leads. That day taught me something I'd never found in books or programs or vision boards. Sometimes the answer really is already on its way, but we're too busy worrying to hear it. So if you're stuck, if money feels tight or heavy or hopeless, maybe try letting go. Not forever, just for a day. I can't promise you'll hear a voice, and to be honest, that's never happened to me since. But money's shown up in the most unexpected ways, time and time again. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to feel abundant. Just pause, breathe, watch what's happening inside, and notice that you're noticing. I know that can feel like doing nothing. I felt that way for ages, but I'm here to tell you, noticing is enough. It works because the part of you that's doing the noticing is always at peace. It's not worried. Worries are just a swirl of thoughts, and you can ignore them like you might ignore rain and the wipers on your windscreen when you're driving. You're able to keep driving because you don't pay attention to the drops of rain or the moving wipers. You may find yourself, like I did, walking across your version of a car park. No plan, no certainty, but maybe just enough trust to take the next step. And if that idea resonates, I'd love to invite you to my free 10-minute masterclass, Effortless Money Manifesting. The link's in the description below. It's a simple shift, but for me, it changed everything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon in another video.